Where do you hide when the whole city's a battleground? Be more than human. And welcome back to the channel. My name is Joseph Carroll. I write under the pen name J.R. Carroll. And today we are here at last. A happy day, a little bit of a sad day, but we have made it to the final Dresden Files book, or at least the current Dresden Files book, Battlegrounds. Now, this, before we kind of get into the meat of it, all of you who've been watching know that these are full spoilers, but I just want to say thank you. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed to my channel, has been watching. This has been I just passed my year on YouTube here, and it's been a year of Dresden. I've been so happy to bring you every Dresden review, 17 and a half books, 2 short story collections. We've had, half a dozen or more Dresden Files discussions. This won't be the last Dresden content you guys get. Next month we will be doing the Peace Talks and Battlegrounds live discussion. I believe we're going to do that on May 14th, like 7:30 p.m. It's on a Sunday, I think. So tune in for that. Make sure you're all subscribed, like, share this video. If you love to share Dresden as much as I do, it has been a wild ride. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. And let's get into the book. So it picks right up where Peace Talks left off, and as Jim does, he does not start a book slowly. We're rolling right in here. Harry's on a boat and it gets attacked by a freaking kraken, and you're like, what? And so he ends up getting knocked over and battling with the kraken in the depths, and Laura dives in there and starts battling, and they're going toe to toe with this thing, and then Harry ends up soul gazing a freaking kraken. Can you believe that? I mean, I was like, I did not see that one coming, but it was great because Harry just says, like, for him it was just a bunch of random images and he couldn't really make it out, but when he snapped back he could see that the kraken was afraid of him, and you're just like, I want to know what people see. I want to know what they see when they soul gaze Harry. And one thing I will say about this book is, now if you're in a series, you can't just jump into a series late and gather everything, but this book really is a culmination. Like, how good this book stands on its own is good, but what makes this book great is all the stuff that Jim puts into it that has basically like the great characters that we've either been waiting on to come back in, or we've just characters really becoming something special in this book. And just seeing things like the kraken and everything pop in is just amazing. And the way they end up killing the kraken with putting a flare inside its head and then a freaking hand grenade, just, I mean, this book is non-stop action, all gas, no brakes. And then we see Harry makes his way to Max, and Max plays us full. All the magical people kind of are just gathered up there, all the lesser magic people. And Harry gives Mac the plaque, the King of the Jews plaque. And, The theories about Mac being possibly an alien or Grigori or something like that, not an alien, a freaking an angel, um, but he, kind of reluctantly agrees to put that plaque up, and that the plaque is kind of like what, like a super ward, like a super powerful ward. And he's like, as long as Mac takes responsibility for the people, and I think Mac actually pricks his thumb and puts a little bit of his blood on it, and then he becomes the keeper of the place there. But Harry's just having to battle their way through the city, and and it's so cool that they all kind of meet back up at the castle, and they're devising plans of, okay, well, Laura is going to take this section with Marcone, and then you're going to have Ebenezer and I don't know, Ebenezer and the Schwartelves might be in one area, and then Harry's going to take his group and go off, with the Monks and everything. It's going to go off in the other area. And there's, while they're sitting there, they see or hear just people down the street just being attacked. And, everyone's kind of looking at Harry like, don't do it, man, don't do it. And then he hears a child. And of course, Harry cannot back down from that. He goes into winter night mode, launches himself off the building, and right behind him is River Shoulders. And man, they wreak havoc. But then we also find a new type of creature, the Huntsman. And these things were pretty cool. They all had like these weird spears that could shoot stuff off, and like Harry describes, because he ends up getting his hands on one of their spears, and he's like, it's like they're fueled by hate, but River Shoulders kind of tells him about, like, we need to kill these huntsmen quick, because when you kill one, they basically it's like they suck in on themselves and give their power to the rest. So all the other ones get more and more powerful. So you kind of have to kill them quick, or you're going to end up dealing with a really powerful, huntsman. And that's kind of what happens here. Of course, they get them all, and then they're like, we missed one. And then, this giant huntsman comes barreling down, and then they tag team it, and River Shoulders ends up like crushing it with a car over and over again. I just love River Shoulders because I love Bigfoot. And who doesn't love Bigfoot? And when they get back, Harry brings a bunch of people, like everybody from the neighborhood, and tells Marcone, hey, if you're going to be the Lord of Chicago, the Baron of Chicago, you take care of your people, right? So he kind of lets them in. And then Harry, these like squid, like these weird like small squid like creatures are being flung in the air, and they're trying to come up and come over and come down into the castle. And the red cap has been the one shooting them, but like if they hit you, they like dissolve like acid all over you. And Harry's like, don't worry, I'll take care of this. And he has them make a whole bunch of pizzas from their store, from their, the storage freezers and stuff, pulls them up, cooks them, lays them out. And Harry kind of doesn't want to say the name out loud so everyone else can hear it, but kind of goes in himself and imagines it and calls forth Toot Toot and Lacuna. And they come down, and it's pretty cute. Toot thinks Lacuna's in love, and Lacuna's like, I'm only here because I have to be here. But Harry's like, hey, how many, he's like, basically like, hey, these people are not just coming to kill us. They're coming to destroy all the pizza. And Toot's like, what? We're going to war. And out of the sky, hundreds of thousands of little people start coming down like the stars. And it's like, the way Jim describes it is it's just amazing. And everybody's looking at Harry like, wow, like we are like everyone was in awe that Harry has so many of the little folk on his side. And Harry's just like, he's like, they're not like, I don't command them. He goes, I've befriended them basically. And so he actually gets props from like everybody's like impressed. But then the little people, he basically tells them, do not let these little squid things get in here. And they start going out and murking everybody, the people, knocking them out of the sky, and then going and killing anyone who's shooting them off. So, Harry this book is like using all his connections, everybody that he can think, to like go to war because everybody's defending the city. And then they start, Harry and everybody, Ebenezer, and at first he's with Ebenezer and Christos, and they're all together marching down the street, just mowing people down, and then they hear the beat of a drum, and you're like, wait a second, and it's like, I know it's coming, and Harry's like, Ebenezer, like, that's necromancers. And they're just like in the cemetery, and he's like, man, we have all of this, now we're gonna have hundreds of zombies, thousands of zombies maybe. And Ebenezer's like, well, you know how to deal with necromancers, you've been, you know how to fight in cemeteries and stuff. He goes, so you take the young one. So he takes Chandler's with him, Yoshimo, Wild Bill, and oh my gosh, so he takes all the young guys, and they go in and they find that they have a circle set up with a little girl. Oh, and River Shoulders comes with him, and so he's like, well, River Shoulders, you go around back. When I give you signal, you get in there, get the girl, and then we'll take care of these necromancers. When the necromancer turns around, the first one turns around, there's like, I think he's like half a dozen of them. Turn around, it's Mavra. And you're just like, of course, how you could not have Mavra in this book. But it turns out Mavra was like the least of these. And there's one guy takes his hood off, and he's not decomposed at all. And I'm getting excited, man. I'm getting excited. I'm like, tell me it's him. And then Chandler's like, oh my, that is Dracul. And I was like, that's one of those fist pump moments, like, I've been waiting for Dracul for 17 books. Oh my god. And so, Dracul's like, oh, take care of them. And so they all start fighting, and River Shoulders ends up kind of showing up, and so does Listens to Wind shows up. And they try to kind of go after Dracul, but Dracul can do this thing where he's almost like teleportation. Like Harry describes it, he goes, it's not like going through a veil or anything. He's like, it's like he just he makes the comparison, like it's like he walks behind a telephone pole and it's just gone. He just goes. He does that several times, where he just kind of like, whoop, come after me, I'm gone. Whoop, comes after me, I'm gone. And then it's just like out of nowhere, like he flings River Shoulders around like he was nothing. And then River Shoulders gets so mad that he just slams the ground and lets off this like shock wave of magical energies. And we know what the Force people are great at is negating magic. So when he tries to do it again, he says he runs into a wall. And then they start they just start fighting each other back and forth. And he just crushes them. And ends up killing Yoshimo, and Bill takes Chandler into like this different realm. But before, in the end of all that, he ends up, um, telling Harry that you know we're both starborn, and at the beginning, Harry says that the amount of will that Dracul had was greater than all of the lords of the Outer Night. So we know like what kind of power level Dracul is sitting at. But Dracul ends up just basically saying, "Oh, had fun with all of you guys," and then just vanishes. And then Harry ends up getting back with the crew, and he's kind of fighting, this urge to like, just we gotta keep going, we gotta keep going, and he ends up creating this mantle, where humans just want to follow him, and people just start following in behind him, and want to defend their city. And I think at one point he can even like sense how many people it is, and there's 1,187 people end up following him. And when one of them dies, he feels it and he knows like they're gone, and so the number goes up and drops, and then we get to this part like Harry ends up fighting like giants and stuff, and he ends up fighting a like the leader of the giants, and who shows up that shouldn't be there but Karen Murphy, and she ends up blowing this thing up with a bazooka in Karen fashion. And then her and Dresden are trying to get out of there, and they end up running into Rudolph, of course, and they're kind of arguing back and forth about Rudolph's like, well, what can I, what is going on here? You guys are crazy. This is all just crazy. And he, basically one of them makes a move. And he moves the gun and it goes off. And it hits Karen in the throat. And then one of the most dramatic scenes in all of Dresden, or in all of fantasy, Harry goes to grab her and tries to help her. And he starts to soul gaze her. And as he sees, Karen's form, and she starts to illuminate, the lights go out, and Harry knows that Karen has died. And you're just sitting there like, oh my god, Karen's been there so long through so many things. Harry loses his mind and starts chasing Rudolph down, and catches up to him in an alleyway and forms a shield and just starts pushing Rudolph between the shield and a wall, and starts to crush him. He feels bones pop, and he pisses himself, and Sonia comes in and tries to stop Harry, and Harry ends up fighting Sonia for a minute and actually knocks him out or knocks him down, and then starts fighting with Butters, and Butters actually touches him with the sword, and it burns his forearm real bad, and it snaps Harry out of it. And he's like, not this way, Harry. And Harry's kind of distraught, and they kind of walk back up, and he goes, Karen, we all lost Karen, not just you, but we have to save the city. And then we get to the main battle, and Mab is standing there in the middle of the battlefield looking at Ethnu, and Ethnu tries to like break her with her will, and Mab's just like, no, and just breaks Ethnu's will, and then Ethnu shoots the Eye of Balor at her, and she just stands there and braces against it, and she takes it all, and looks fine at first, but then falls off the unicorn. And that's when, because it takes a little bit for the eye to recharge, and that's when Odin and the Earl King and Titania, or Earl King and Odin, come through with the Wild Hunt, and then Harry calls Titania, and they all start battling her, and it looks like, oh, they might be able to do something, but in the end she drops all of them. And then Butters is standing up to her, and she's like, "You're all alone, little man." And then he's like, "I'm not alone." And then Marcone and the White Court and all the Svartalf helmet, everybody just converges. And then so you have the two, Sonya and Butters, fighting her. You have McCoy fighting her. You have Laura Wraith fighting her. And then Guard actually gets inside and actually hits her like full force with like a really, like, she charged up her axe and actually broke first time anyone actually hurt Ethnu, and broke her ankle. But then she just drops everybody again. Sonya was actually able to cut her with the sword, and she's on one knee, but she's down to everybody again. And Laura runs up and kicks her as hard as she can in the back of the head, and the eye pops out. And who does it roll to? Marcone. Marcone picks it up and takes off running to the beach. And so Harry follows him out there, and Ethnu starts fighting with Marcone. Marcone's like, "Get the binding ready, Harry. I'm gonna hold her off." And he tries to like stab her, and she just grabs him by his neck and breaks his neck and throws him over there. And Harry's like runs to him. He's like, "No!" And then Marcone sits up, and we're like, "What?" And he just, all the bones in his neck just reform, and he's like, "Harry, you better get to business, and I'll keep holding her off." And then you see the other eyes form, and he took the coin of Thorn Namshiel, and you're just like, of course he did. Now he's going to be able to battle Harry in the future with Namshiel's, because Namshiel is the sorcerer of the Blackened Denaris. And so he's fighting her off, with the hellfire and the magic and everything. And Harry is able to use the Spear of Destiny to hold Ethnu's will off. And finally, she tries to show him a vision of earlier where they killed, supposedly went in and killed Michael Carpenter's whole family and then Harry's daughter. But Harry's like, he goes, "You messed up with your vision." He goes, "Mouse wasn't there. Mouse would have been there. You lied to me, and you're not going to break me." And then he finally calls her name out a third time, and a tidal wave rolls in, and at the top of the tidal wave you see Demon Rage crash down on her and drag her into the abyss and lock her up in the crystal that Harry had brought. And you're just like, oh my god, like, how freaking, just the visualization, Jim just put everything he had into this book. One of the best books. I don't know, I'm not sure if I would put it in my top 5, pretty close, but just like everything that it brings together makes it what it is. Just freaking amazing book. And Marcone actually tells Harry to take the eye, because they were like, it was in between them. They're like, well, who should take it? And he goes, "You take it. I'll deal with you later," basically. And then at the end of the book, Harry ends up taking Justine out to the island so that she can see, Thomas. But it was a cool scene where Justine shows up with Goodman, and Goodman's all beat up, his eyes swollen shut, and he's like, I guess he took out a bunch of White Court people because they were trying to, when the lights went out, they tried to go and save her because they were supposed to be protecting her too, and he just laid them all out. And Harry puts the envelope with the dollar in it and gives it to him, and he's like, one attractive, untouched woman. He goes, "You all are terrible. I hate you all." And he just walked. So then we're back out with Justine and Harry as they're headed out to the island to see Thomas. And Harry has this dream as he's kind of sitting there, and it all kind of comes together with what Thomas kept saying, it's Justine, it's Justine. And Harry gets up and basically says, like, oh, I figured out who you are. Why don't you go ahead and tell me? And he's like, thrice I say. And it turns out Justine is Nemesis. And she is known as He Who Walks Beside. And Harry was like, man, if I would have invited you on the island, think about how much damage you could have done. You could have unleashed all these, dark gods and stuff. And then Harry says, but you know what happens if you come to the island uninvited? And Harry jumps off the boat to see if, because she's almost inside of the island. So if she runs up on the island, well, Alfred can go ahead and suck her down, but she ends up jumping away, and Harry ends up, back with the rest of the crew in the city, and he's talking with Guard, and basically, she says, yeah, she'll, Karen will get to come back eventually. She's with Odin now. And he was like, well, when can she come back? And he's like, she can't come back until her memory is gone from everybody, which she knows a lot of wizards, right? So it could be hundreds of years before she can come back as either a Valkyrie or one of the undead Norse warriors. But we kind of, that's where we've kind of been left off. Now we have done the law, and you can check that, that out. I was not bragging, but I was the first person online with a review of the law, and I'll do that in the future for all Dresden stuff. Thank you so much. Make sure you like, subscribe, share this so more people can join in with us, Dresden, and it's been a fantastic year with all of you. And remember, be more than human.